Have you been trying to improve communications at your church? Maybe you've tried some new tools or a whole new way of doing things, but you feel like it's just not working as well as you want it to. Hey there, it's Matthew Warner, and this is the Finding Uno Show. Welcome back to the Finding Uno Show. Who's Uno? Oh, you know Uno. He's that one lost sheep the shepherd leaves the 99 to go after, and we are here to help you find him. I'm your host, Matthew Warner, joined by my co-host, Matthew Sewell. How you doing, Matt?
Great, as always. Better than I deserve. As somebody else usually
Dave
says.
Ramsey
right?
quote. Yeah.
Well,
Very good.
it's
So
accurate.
just another reminder quickly, if you have questions for us or you have an idea for a topic you'd like to hear us cover on the show, please go to findinguno.com and check out our hotline there where you can submit a question, even leave a voicemail for us to have you on the show or have your voice on the show anyways, and feature your question or topic and get to address it for you. So please don't be shy there. We'd love to hear from you. Today, we are talking about the main reason church communications fail, kind of a big topic, but it's really not. It's actually a pretty simple kind of thing. Matt, have you ever worked with a church and felt like they were just using the totally wrong tool for the job, and they couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, but it's like they were trying to hammer in a nail with a screwdriver or something, and they just couldn't see it.
Yeah. I mean, it happens every now and again. I mean, it's maybe the catalyst of lots of the conversations that we have with churches at Flocknote in general. But yeah, I mean, it seems like it's usually some form of, I know that I need this, but I don't even really know where to start or something. And this one thing seemed flashy or seemed easy or something like that, which is, not to fault anybody or anything like that. Some combination of that, or maybe just like not knowing how to use a tool because nobody ever taught you, right? So I don't know that it's ever anything like malicious, but it seems like a lot of things can fail before they get off the ground, just kind of from a lack of anybody equipping them before then.
Yeah, it's not malicious, I don't think, ever, really, that I've seen.
Well, yeah.
It's just, I think, a lack of intentionality. And I think it's more common than we think. I think if you went to a church leader and you asked them, if you looked at any of their projects, efforts, a lot of their communications, and you asked them, what are you trying to achieve with that? And did it work? They probably can't answer you that well. What are you specifically trying to achieve with that email, with that announcement, with whatever? And then next week, did it work? And so I think I want to sum this up, but or I want to dive into it. But to sum it up, it's a lack of intentionality of what we're trying to do, and I think also we make some of these decisions in the wrong order. And I want to tell you what I mean by that, by giving you a little technique you can use to help you be more intentional with any of the things that you're doing. This can apply to any project you're doing, small, big, whatever. You need some form of this to help with your execution of it, okay? So the one I'm going to talk about today is something called the POST method, and I've used this a ton working with churches. It's a great, simple way to think about this, but there's a few key takeaways I want to give to you. But first, let me just outline it for you. So POST, P-O-S-T, there's P-O-S-T. The P stands for people, okay? The O stands for objective. The S stands for strategy. And the T stands for tool or technology in some cases, okay? So POST, people, objective, strategy, and then your tool. And this is really important, especially the order that these are in. But let's break them down a little bit more. So people is where you start. This is, who are we trying to reach? A lot of times we're just putting it out there, and the answer is kind of everyone. We want to reach everyone. But if you're trying to reach everyone, you end up speaking to nobody because you're not being specific enough in the way that you're approaching it. And as a church, it's hard for us to do this because we like the idea that we are reaching everyone. And we do have a shared mission to reach everyone. But when it comes to your strategies of executing specific things within your community, it's really important that we have a little more specificity there and intentionality of who we're trying to reach. Let me give you an example. So if I'm, say, a youth minister, and maybe there's a particular thing that I want to address within my ministry. And the people I want to reach, let's say, is I want to reach teenage boys between the ages of 13 and 18 who like skinny jeans and skateboarding and what do kids listen to these days? Nirvana when I was a kid. So
Yikes, you're dating yourself. I don't even know if the
yeah,
skinny jeans are in. My brother-in-law
they're
is like
probably
19. I don't know.
they're
It's like
they're
white tennis shoes. We're both old in the eyes of teenagers, so forgive
yeah,
us.
it's probably not anymore. But anyways, if you're a youth minister, hopefully you know what's in. But you're describing the things that they like and that they do, and that so you know them, right? So get specific. Write down a particular person. You can give them a name and describe all the things about them, so you could really speak to this person in an effective way. Okay, so that's people. Now, next is objective. So you know who you want to reach, but what do I want to happen? So your objective is what do you want to have different after having interacted with them in some way? What do you want to have achieved? So your objective, let's say again, for my youth ministry example, maybe my objective is I want to give them a community of friends who are a positive influence on them. And I want to make sure that each of these boys know that their faith has real answers to real problems that they're having in their life right now. Okay, so that's my objective. I want them to know those things and to have that community of positive influence of friends, right? So it's a clear objective. Okay, next though, so once you know what you want to change or what you want to have happen to which people, now you go to strategy. So strategy is how am I going to achieve that objective? What are the things I'm going to implement or do that's going to achieve this objective with this group of people? So maybe again, in my example here, maybe I'm going to implement a once a week skateboarding hangout at the park near the high school after school on Wednesdays, where we're going to have skateboarding competitions, we're going to have free pizza, and we're going to have a 10-minute talk about how their faith is relevant to their life, whatever. So this is now actions you're going to take, a strategy to achieve an objective to reach those people, okay? Now, after you have all of that stuff, now you say, which tools will help me implement it? Okay, and this is one of the main takeaways I want people to have is too often I think the reason churches fail at any communication or any project or plan they have is that they start down here at the total wrong end. They say, I know we need to be on Facebook. I know we need to have an app. I know we need to send out a weekly newsletter on email. I know we need to have a capital campaign, whatever. Like they start with the thing they know they need or have. I know we need online giving, right? They start with that thing and then they go backwards. And they're totally ineffective because they don't know what their purpose is and how. They don't know what their strategy is. They don't have a clear plan. They don't know what they're really trying to achieve specifically. And they don't know who they're trying to do it with. And so again, if we apply that now with who we're trying to reach, we might say, well, I need a way to text message the whole group so that I can send a reminder of when we're happening and when plans change. And I can keep the parents in the loop. And then maybe I'll use a Snapchat account or whatever that we're going to share some highlight reels of what happens each week, and they can share it with their friends and then comment, and we can, do some of that sort of stuff if that's, what you want to do. I don't really like it, but kids like it, but whatever. And they're probably not even on Snapchat anymore. But you get the point is now you're picking tools that work to execute this strategy, to achieve this objective with this exact group of people. And so again, that's one method you can use for this. There's so many different methods out there, but the point is the order of those things, to be clear with what you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve before you pick the tools, before you decide which things you're going to use to execute it. You got to get that in the right order, and then you'll be much more successful when you go to implement those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that. I mean, a couple of thoughts that I had. So in terms of intentionality, right? It's not so much saying like you're not being intentional. It's that how would we say it? Like you're not being intentional enough or in the right ways or something. Or I mean, like because everybody says, oh, we want our church to grow or we want our giving to go up or something. But those are too broad, right? We have to bring it down to the specific. But then, how do people also account for maybe their own, I mean, is it kind of like a pre-check before they do the post method where they say, okay, what hasn't worked in the past? What are my own limitations? Who else do I need to call, kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a pre-check. I think that's built into the method. That's part of your objective and part of your strategy of like, well, what is going to achieve this? Now, maybe they've done that in the past, and they're like, actually, Wednesdays don't work. That's a terrible strategy. Actually, trying to talk to them at all in that kind of format is totally ineffective, right? So that's where you have those kind of conversations, and you're hopefully applying your wisdom in achieving those things. But I think where you hit on it is it needs to be more specific, because we kind of have this general idea, like you said, we want giving to go up, we want more people to come, but the reason we're not being successful is because we haven't broken it down into a more detailed plan yet. So you break it down to which people do you want to come, which people aren't coming, and which people do we want to come that aren't coming, and then of those people, what do they look like? What are they doing? How can we reach those specific people? Those are different people, they do different things. They like different things. So you have to break it down with more details and split it into multiple sort of plans or strategies in that sense. But yeah, so that's relevant. And then one final thing I wanted to say is the necessary thing at the end is the feedback loop. So maybe you find out, because this is where you're going to try something, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But the bad habit a lot of churches get into is they just keep doing the same thing. Of course, they expect different results, and they're wondering why it's not working, and they keep doing the same thing, and it keeps not working. You have to, at some point, stop and say, did it work? And the only way to know if it worked or not is if you actually had an objective. So you can now point to this and say, did we achieve the objective? And if the answer is yes, then keep doing it. Do it again. Expand it. If the answer is no, well, then we need to rethink this. We need a new strategy. We need new tools, whatever the case may be. So it's that feedback loop it's a matter of discipline. It's a matter of holding each other accountable. This is what good managers need to do with all of their people working on their staff. But we need to help each other do it at churches, where we say, hey, we decided to implement this program last year. And again, this is so relevant to our conversation we're having this year of the 7% and the 82%, because so many times we try something and we're like, hey, yeah, we want to reach all these people. And at some point we don't go, hey, did it work? Oh, it didn't work. Oh, well, let's do something different then. Let's stop that and let's try a new thing, because that didn't work. So let's try a new thing and see if it does work. It's not going to always work, obviously. But the point is it's okay to fail, as long as you have this feedback loop of recognizing that it failed and then being willing to change and try something new. So use some sort of method like that so you can have some intentionality. Make sure the order is correct. Know what you want to achieve before you go and pick out your strategy and pick out the tools you want to use and all of that. And then finally, make sure you've got that feedback at the end. So at some point in the future, we're going to sit down and hold ourselves accountable. And we're going to say, did it work or did it not? And then make changes based on that.
Yeah. Well, and what an important caveat be, it's probably almost always going to be the objective of the strategy that didn't work and not necessarily the tool. Because it goes back to one of our older episodes where it's like, oh, we tried sending the same thing on Facebook and it didn't work. And so we're going to send the same thing on Twitter and it didn't work. And we're going to send the same thing on Flocknote and it didn't work, and keep bouncing down the line, right?
It depends, though. You could have picked the wrong tools. You might have had a good strategy, but you picked the wrong tools, So it's like, in this case, maybe we had a great strategy, but we decided we were going to make the announcement and put the reminders on Facebook. And we would have realized afterward, we're like, wait, none of these kids check their Facebook. And the parents don't really like getting it there either. And, Mark Zuckerberg stopped showing it to them. So the key is to make sure you're having that moment later where you're assessing, did we achieve what we wanted to achieve? If not, what went wrong? Let's fix it. Let's try something different. Don't be afraid to fail, but make sure you got that feedback loop in place so you can eventually succeed at it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I hope that was all the help. I mean, really interesting topic. Lord knows we love talking about intentionality and all that, being specific, strategic in how we do church, because it's something that's still sorely underused. But that's all we've got for today's topic. But of course, before we go, we always like to take a listener question. And so we're going to bounce over to our People Got Church Problems segment. Well, our question today is from our friend Megan out in Nebraska. And Megan asked, do you have any tips or ideas on how to inspire the 11% to start showing up again?
Very good, Megan. So the 11%, of course, if you guys remember back to the episode earlier this season, you have the 7% who do almost everything in the church. You have the 82% who are still showing up at some point, but drifting out generally and don't always show up. But then you have the 11%, which is the rest of your people that no longer show up at all. They still identify as members of the faith, but they don't show up anymore. So what do we do to try to reach them? So first, I think it's a great question, but I want to make sure that people understand that for most churches, if you're not already reaching the 82% that well, don't get distracted trying to reach out to the 11% yet. If you can do all of it, great. But the 82%, this is one of the key distinctions with this sort of crude breakdown of the 7%, the 82%, and the 11%. It's that the 82% are still showing up. They're sitting, again, pre-COVID, but hopefully after COVID as well, if we do it right. But they're sitting in front of you. They're listening to what you have to say. They are there on Sunday, but sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. And when they are we taking advantage of that and hopefully keeping them from drifting out and becoming a part of the 11% that no longer show up? So just want to make sure we don't get distracted by that is a huge opportunity that we need to have most of our resources focused on as a church. But it's still a relevant question. How do we reach out to the 11%? For me, I think this often, well, a few things first. Before what we do say to them, what do we not say to them? So this is where you don't want the 11% still on your capital campaign emails that go out. The more insider info kind of stuff that is not going to appeal to them. This is where it's helpful to really segment those lists and to make sure that your communications are saying the right thing to the right group of people within your community. So again, when it comes time to ask for money, make sure the 11% aren't on there, because not only are they not going to give, but you're also going to push them away further, because the only time they hear from you is, when you need something from them or those kind of things. So that's a trap to watch out for, is make sure they're not getting stuff they shouldn't be getting. But I think this largely lies within the realm of building personal relationships with those people first. So it could be an invite. They could get an email. You could target them with communication that would be something they'd be interested in. Hey, just so you know, we've got this going on this year. We'd love to see it. Is there any of these sound interesting to you? You just might word it differently, knowing that it's somebody that hasn't showed up to something in a long time, right? But I think it's also a great opportunity to pull up that list of people and call them up and get to know them and ask them what's going on in their life. You could ask them why they haven't shown up in a while and make sure they're doing okay, but make sure the point is not what they can do for you, and we want you to show up, but that we care about you and what's going on in your life. What things are troubling you? Are there any things we could pray for you? So there's a lot of even inviting people back is sometimes too forward of a step if they haven't been around in a while. Sometimes it's just like, what can I do for you? Or it's, do you have anything I can pray for? I'm not even expecting you to come show up. Do you have something we could pray for you about? So there's so many opportunities there, I think, to just start the relationship again, which is the key, and to not try to go from just met to or haven't talked in forever to best friends again, like really quickly. It's going to take time and to be natural about it.
Yeah, good. Well, I hope that was a help, Megan. Again, great question, one that we don't get all the time. So that is all the time we have for today. But of course, before we go, don't forget to stick around as we kick it over to our friend Liz to find out where Uno is today.
Hey everyone! This week Uno was spotted in Mid-Pines, California, walking along the Merced River near Yosemite. Thank you to... Is it weird to thank myself? I sent in this photo. Grant's my husband, and he was wearing his Uno shirt. So I was like, this is amazing. Uno's never been to the Merced River. So I took a picture and now I'm sharing it with you. All right. Anyways, so We love likes and subscribes and reviews around here. So if you haven't yet, please leave us a review. And then you can send us an email at howdy@findinguno.com letting us know you left a review. And we will send you some Flocknote swag so that you can take Uno with you wherever you go. That's all we've got for you for today. We'll see you next time on the Finding Uno Show. Bye-bye.